Welcome to Piano Video Lessons. This is video number 2 for Minuet in F by Jean-Henri d'Anglebert. It's a grade 1 level Baroque piece and it's part of Unit 9 here at pianovideolessons.com. This is Unit 2 of Year 2. And today we're going to be working on refining this piece so that we can include the dynamics, articulation, and keep the tempo steady. So this is a minuet from the Baroque era, and it's written by a French composer. Some of the things to look out in the Baroque era, if you want to reference your Baroque style sheet, this is in your ebook. You can just click the info card to come on over to pianovideolessons.com where you can get the complete index of these lessons as well as the ebook. But some of the elements that we've discussed that apply to Baroque music are to play with a detached touch and using terraced dynamics. So, when we use terraced dynamics, this means that we change abruptly from one level to another, and that's due to the limitations of the instruments of that era. So when we play this piece, we'll make sure not to crescendo or diminuendo because that was not something that could be done on the instruments of the time. So when we played this piece before, we weren't worrying too much about steady tempo. We were allowing ourselves to stop and go as needed. Now in this case, we have one little spot we marked in the last lesson as potentially being difficult to keep the beat going, keeping that tempo steady. So we're going to work on that together today, as well as talking about the touch to use and the dynamics. All right, so let's just go through the first part of this and see if there's anything that's going to give us trouble. I'm going to play the first 2 lines of this piece. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1, 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3. So a couple of things might give you trouble. There's a little bit going on here. There's that B flat in the left hand and the same tricky rhythm that we discussed in the first, the dotted quarter eighth. So this is going to hold 1 and 2 and 3, just making this first note extended. And then we also have a bit of shifting to do. So right here, there's a shift that might give some people trouble, and we first have to, in this measure here, I think this is probably the one that's the most, I'm like exclamation point right here. This is maybe the one that's the trickiest. So I'm just going to mark this off right here. We'll take it to the end of the line. So anytime you find something tricky that you want to practice, I recommend isolating it, working on it, and then putting it back into your piece. So here we would begin playing this. We've got finger 5 on the black key. So we're playing long, and then down, up, and then 2, switch to 4, down, 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 and then 3 is moving, and down. So you want to work on that. 1 and 2 and 3, and 1, and switch, and down, and 1, 2, and 3. All right, so we've got, once you get that worked out, it's important then to put it into the piece. So we would be coming in from here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3. So we want to practice that again. 1 and 2, transition, 1, 2 and 3. So back here, we probably didn't have our 5 on a black key. We have to make sure we get it there, and then we're going to hop down. So work on that until you smooth it out. Now this next line isn't terribly hard. It moves a lot, but it moves with the same pattern every time until this last one, which then ends on C. That's maybe the easiest line of the whole piece because every time it's 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then finish with 2, 3, 1. So when we finish here, I drew this little star in the beginning of this next line because this is a good place to practice with countdown method. So we'll have 3, 2, 3, 1. Now both hands have to leap. So from here, both hands leaping down A and up to C. So you need to practice that. So what you do is you play this and then you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And do it again. This time, 4, 3, 2, 1. and do it again. This time, 3, 2, 1. And do it again. 2, ready, go. And do it again. Ready? And this time, no stopping. So if at any time you find that you're having, it's too fast, you've shortened it too much, just go back up to the longer gap and maybe count your beat a bit slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Then gradually you can speed up your beat, and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. You only need to speed your beat up to match what you're already playing for the tempo for the rest of the piece. And if you're finding that you don't have to play quickly, because right now we're only working at stage 2. And stage 2 does not require a fast tempo, it only requires a steady tempo. So let's now have a look at the dynamics for this piece. I have written in mezzo piano, mezzo forte, piano, and mezzo piano. Now this is editorial. I have written these dynamics, but you could do anything you wanted because they likely were not written in by the composer. In fact, it was not the standard to do so. So here we go. I'll play it as written. Mezzo piano, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and now mezzo forte, 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1 and 2. Piano, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. 3 and 1. Now back to mezzo piano. There's that hop, and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So that's a suggested dynamic plan. You could do it differently. You could play it forte on the first line. Then you could play softly. Or you could change it to any other way that you might like to try the dynamics. The important thing is to switch them on and off. And now let's talk about the articulation. So this piece is in the Baroque style, which means that our quarter notes can be detached. And basically that means we take a small breath after we play each quarter note. So here we'd play this A, and then we'd take a little breath, which just means lift off the key before starting beat 2. And again, after this quarter note, a little lift and a little lift, 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 lift. This is a little breath mark. We're not actually adding any time, we're just not connecting the notes. So instead of legato, we're going to play portato, which is detached. So we lift, and then these ones connect, and then we lift and connect and lift, 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 connect and lift, lift. Every time we play a quarter note, we'll lift it, lift, lift, and lift, lift. Now you could also lift your longer quarters here. Let's try the second line with detached dotted quarters. So we'd have So you could also do it that way. But whatever you decide to do for the dotted quarters, you have to be consistent and do it for each of them. So let me show you how that sounds now. The left hand's holding, and the right is lifting off every quarter note. I notice that my left hand is holding. Oops, sorry, I'm trying to talk and play. Doesn't always work. Lifting off my quarter, so lift, and lift, lift. Here I'm gonna lift, sorry. Here I'm gonna lift this one. Sorry, I sometimes make mistakes when I try to talk and play. It's just my brain doesn't always work that way. You should try it sometime. Try having a conversation while you play something on the piano. It's not always easy. So now let's do, I'll play this through for you one time, and we'll come back in the next video where we'll talk about keeping the tempo appropriate for the piece, and we'll work on memorizing it and adding some flavor and some style and confidence to this piece. So I'll go ahead and play it for you once, and I'll see you in the next video.